Neither Better Trades or any of its personnel are registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. I will mention that I consider certain securities or positions to be good candidates for the types of strategies we are discussing or illustrating. Because I consider the securities or positions appropriate to the discussion or for illustration purposes does not mean that I'm telling you to trade the strategies or securities. Keep in mind that we are not providing you with recommendations or personalized advice about your trading activities. The information we are providing is not tailored to any particular individual. Any mention of a particular security is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that or any other security or a suggestion that it is suitable for any specific person. Keep in mind that all trading involves a risk of loss, and this will always be the situation regardless of whether we are discussing strategies that are intended to limit risk. Also, Better Trades personnel are not subject to trading restrictions. I and others at Better Trades could have a position in a security or initiate a position in a security at any time.
Hello, and welcome out to another Big Guys. Going to get right down to business today and skip the other deal and go right to the stocks. Got about 19 this week. Quite a few what I think are good opportunities. We'll see what happens on Monday and see how they play out, but or the rest of the week. Some of them, like usual, we have some that are already past the entry point, but let's have a few like this one, ABC. We've got earnings coming up here in a couple weeks, so we've got to be obviously aware of that. So, but ABC, we're looking at the possibility of this thing dropping off some more. It needs to pop back up a little bit first before it drops, but the only thing that makes me nervous about this one is the fact that it's fallen so far already. You know, we were at 106 just about 3 weeks ago or so, and today we're at 91, so it's already had a big tumble. So how much further? Well, we don't need it to go much further to make a nice little profit, but at the same time, the odds, the more it drops, the higher the odds get of it bouncing back to the upside. So I would be cautious with this one, especially if it bounces up. I would actually prefer to see this thing for a few days, kind of dance around that 92.30, pop up and test it a couple times, and then roll over. That's what I'd prefer to see before getting in, but never know. So, but then earnings get close too, so you've got that to deal with as well. So that's ABC's a challenging one. AGN, another little kind of really small head and shoulders. Basically already played out exactly the way we would expect it to, and it's bounced back up to that old resistance level. So, looking for it to possibly drop back down. As you know, not a huge fan of the resistance. I prefer the breakout trades, but there may be something here. You see the volume's gotten lighter on the way back to on the upside, so that's a bearish sign. So we'll see what that brings us on Monday. Anthem, earnings is right there, 27th. That is what, Wednesday, I think. I don't remember if I saw that or if I just ignored it. Could be one. This could be one that could take off to the upside. This is just the same as ABC, where it's already run quite a bit to the upside. So I mean, we're talking 128 to 142 almost. It's a pretty big run for just a couple weeks. So a little skittish. This one I'm definitely not terribly excited about, especially with the earnings. So, but just because I'm not excited about it doesn't mean I'm not going to keep it on the list and watch it and see what happens. So AON, another one, nice little bounce. Almost kind of a quasi morning star, not really, because you got two bars there, two candles. But you could look at it and say, the overall concept is there. It's maybe a little bit of a stretch, but possibly looking for basically a short covering or a quick little rally on this one to the upside before it rolls back over to the downside. Again, earnings coming up on the 5th, so be aware of that. Bristol Myers, another one that looks good. It dropped off, quite a bit there in the last week. It's danced around it, trying to build its way back up. So if it does take off to the upside, I would imagine it would be fairly quick and fast, kind of like last time. You look at the last two runs we've had up there. It makes a pretty quick move, usually 3 to 5 days. So there may be something here. Earnings is the Thursday, though, so have to be ready for that. There's a challenging part during the earnings season is getting around it. And I don't know if these are just popping on here or what, because I don't remember seeing a lot of these earnings, little triangle of diamonds here. So 27th, that's Wednesday. Another one looking for a short covering rally, Ascension on Crown. Except that it bounced up a bunch, so not terribly excited about this one, but there is a decent chance it'll get back up there. So we'll see what we get on Monday. Church and Dwight. This one, zooming back out, you see the kind of head and shoulders. Um, Even if you don't call it a head and shoulders, there's that support level there that it busted a week and a half, 2 weeks ago in a big way, and it's rallied back up. It's back up at that neckline resistance level, and pretty decent likelihood it will roll over here at some point soon. Earnings coming out on the 2nd, so a week or two on that. CHRW. Another one, little, almost an ascending triangle to the upside. But what it does from here is we'll just have to see. It's broken back out of that 64 area. Obviously on Friday it gapped up and then sold off, got right back to the entry point level. But wouldn't be surprised, especially if the market's up, which it could be. Market could have continued a little bit of a rally to the upside, a little rebound. Then this would probably go with it. So earnings on the 2nd. Edison. This is an interesting one. It's just sitting going sideways. And it has been for, 3 months now? It's just bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so what we're looking for here, even though it's got a ways to go to get out of there, which it could do in a day, is looking for the breakout to the upside. So it's always possible, of course, that it could break out to the downside, and I'll be watching for that. A lot of utilities have gotten somewhat bullish. So we'll see what happens with this one. Basically, this is kind of a sit and wait, probably a 2 or 3 day thing, but at least as of right now, there's no earnings coming up that we can see. So EQR, looking for this to continue the downside. It hasn't sold off a whole lot like the other stocks have, so it hasn't dropped off nearly as much. So there's still, looks like there's still some pretty good downside. We've got, and you can see here how far we've come up, and it's not gotten beat up like a lot of others. So let's see, earnings is on the 2nd. So a couple of weeks till then, and then EQT is an oil and gas company, which obviously most of these have gotten beat up pretty bad. This was what, $110, $112. Just a year and a half ago, and today it's 58. It's dropped all the way off to about 45, so it's been cut more than in half. So a rally would be expected, and you can see there's some volume coming back into this thing, pushing higher. So question is, how far will this run before it slows down? Earnings is on the 4th. So, yeah, we'll see what that brings us. ETR, another energy, another utility company. You can see these utilities have been relatively bullish with the market the way it's been. Ascending triangle. You look at the bigger picture, you can see that it's a pretty good looking one. It's basically forming a bottom at this point. So if this breaks out, this might be a good longer term trade. I mean, 2-3 months, maybe 6 even, because it has taken several months to form the pattern. And if it breaks out to the upside, there is really, 71.61 is, I think, just the first point. We could very easily go up there to about 66. It will take a little longer to do that, most likely, but that's entirely possible. Of course, we do have earnings on the 3rd, so we have to account for that as well. EW. Only thing I'm not a fan of this one is because it's had a 2-day, basically 2.5-day run. I would actually expect it to sit and kind of dance around that 78 level, 78.40 support level. I would prefer to see that kind of bounce off there a couple times before getting excited about this, because it very well could easily turn over from here and go back down. Of course, we have earnings again coming up on the 2nd, so we're not that far away from that. So we've got to be obviously aware and cautious with that. Magellan Midstream, another energy, another oil and gas company. This thing's basically just been in a sideways channel. And so looking for it, you can see the long upper shadow on Friday, light volume. So looking for this thing to roll back over and head down. Thinking that it could do it in this week or so. if it does roll over, because we have earnings on the 4th. So just keeping an eye on that one, seeing what happens with it. Nike. I actually kind of like this one. This is probably one of my favorites on the list here. You can see Nike has gone up a ton. I mean, we're at $60, and I don't know that this is really that sustainable. So we bounced off the 200-day, which is still right down there about the target. Earnings, I didn't even know Nike did a split. They did a 2-for-1 split, really. Interesting. I don't think that'll affect anything. It's far enough away. You see the gap on it. Yeah, I can see this rolling back over to the downside and starting a trend, a downtrend. So, but we'll see. We'll see what it brings us. Oh, you see, I don't know what this is. What's crazy? Real estate REITs. Back in 09, this thing was at $10, $11. The average for the previous few years before that was $16. Now it's at 50. I guess that's not terrible if they really have grown that much. But it broke out big time on Friday. Just not a lot of volume. So obviously this thing has to pull back a decent amount before getting in. I almost kicked this off because it was too far gone. But I think if it does pull back, there's a decent chance here. I like the trade if it pulls back and bounces off that $52 level. So I love that potential. Raytheon. This is another one that I love. Aerospace defense company. Coming on earnings. Well, there's the big thing is that it's walking the band to the downside. The 20s crossed over the 50. Everything here is looking extremely bearish. So looking for a breakdown. There's the only challenge right there is earnings is on Thursday. So we've got to obviously adapt for that, which is the hard part. It's so close. You know, it's only, 4 days away. So we've got to be prepared for that. Vulcan Materials. Another one that's been beat up the last couple months. Pretty big here in the last month or so. What will be 96, 98 down to $80. It's bounced back up, nice little recovery rally for a few days, but long upper shadow on Friday spells a little bearishness, especially with fairly light volume. So looking for it to roll back down. There's almost $4 of potential there, a little more than $4 of potential on the downside, which may not take that long to do. You know, a couple days is all it could take on this. So earnings on the 3rd, so we have a little bit of time to deal with that. And last but definitely not least, Yum Brands. This is Taco Bell, KFC. You can see they've been beat up as well, and kind of dancing around this 66.40. Looking for it to break down. It's still got a little ways to go before it actually breaks, but if it does, you know, I would venture to say it's probably going to be a swift move. So, but again, like most of these today, we've got earnings to contend with on the 3rd. So we have it for the big guys. We will come back with an update and the little guys here in the next day or two. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.